All right, let's talk about the high-stakes world of global business. It's a place where a single political move can make millions of dollars in investment just vanish. It's where fortunes are really made by the people who not only spot the opportunity, but are also ready for all the risks that come with it. And that's the million-dollar question, isn't it? For so many companies, expanding across the globe is the dream, the ultimate prize. But that prize, well, it comes with a whole landscape of hidden dangers that can completely tear apart even the most brilliant plans. So how do you even begin to navigate that? Because it really is a gamble. Once your business is operating on a global scale, you're not just thinking about your competitors anymore. Nope. You're suddenly exposed to a completely new set of challenges that can mess with everything from your investments to your day-to-day operations. So let's break this down. The dangers that companies run into when they go abroad, they pretty much fall into two main buckets. You can think of them as two separate, but definitely connected minefields, the political and the economic. So what's the actual difference? Well, political risks, that's all about power and policy. These are the things that come from government actions or maybe social instability. On the other hand, you've got economic risks, and those are all about the money and the markets, the big financial forces that can just flip your entire business environment upside down. Let's dig a little deeper into these political risks. A sudden change in government can rewrite all the rules overnight. You could be dealing with total regulatory uncertainty, where the laws you depend on are just constantly shifting. Worst case scenario, something called expropriation, where a government literally just seizes your company's assets. And when you throw in the possibility of civil unrest or corruption, you can see how each one of these is a massive threat. And the economic side can be just as wild. Soaring inflation can just completely wipe out your profits. A sudden recession could make demand for your products just disappear. And unstable fiscal policies, like, say, unpredictable tax hikes, they make any kind of long-term planning basically impossible. It's a constant fight to protect that bottom line. Okay, so you're facing all these dangers. What can a company possibly do? Just sit back and hope for the best? Absolutely not. See, the smart companies, they don't just react to problems, they prepare for them. They have a whole toolkit of strategies designed to manage and tackle these risks head-on. And this is basically the playbook. First, you've got to start with a deep dive into country risk analysis. That's the homework you do before you even think about investing a single dollar. Second, you have to develop contingency plans, constantly asking what if for every possible scenario. Third, and this one is so important, you build real, strong partnerships with local people who actually understand the lay of the land. Fourth, you make sure you are in strict compliance with every single local law. And finally, for that extra safety net, you buy political risk insurance. That can cover you for those catastrophic events like a government takeover or if a currency suddenly becomes worthless. Now, theory is one thing, but let's see how this playbook actually works in the real world. We're going to look at a classic case study, Shell's operations in Nigeria. This was a really complex, high-stakes environment where that whole toolkit was put to the ultimate test. So here was the situation. Shell was operating in Nigeria, a country with tons of oil but also dealing with some major political unrest and constantly shifting regulations. And these weren't just abstract threats on a spreadsheet. They were directly threatening the company's ability to produce oil and keep its people safe. It was a textbook example of the political risks we were just talking about. So what did Shell do? Well, they went straight to that playbook. Instead of only focusing on getting oil out of the ground, they invested a ton of resources into building partnerships with local communities. They even started a program to fund local entrepreneurs. They really leaned into corporate responsibility. And this wasn't just some PR move. It was a core strategy to manage risk, build trust, and create value for everyone involved. And this is where you see the payoff. By actively managing all that political and social risk, Shell managed to stabilize its operations. But it went beyond that. The company actually became a partner in developing the region. It just goes to show that a proactive strategy doesn't just prevent disasters, it can actually create a more sustainable, more positive outcome for everyone. So what's the big takeaway from all this? Why does any of it matter? Well, because in the world we live in today, everything is so interconnected. Global business isn't some niche topic anymore. It affects supply chains, the prices you pay, and jobs, well, everywhere. And that really brings us to the most important point. Having ambition, having a great product, that's just not enough to make it on the world stage. The real key, the thing that separates the winners from the losers, is that deliberate,
thoughtful preparation for all the risks that are definitely waiting just around the corner.
Which leaves us with one last thing to think about. We've talked about political and economic risks, but the world is always changing. I mean, from climate change to cybersecurity to global health crises, what do you think is going to be the next big risk that companies have to add to their playbook?